Back in January, we produced and explained on Football Daily questioning how Barcelona were able to fork out €55 million to sign Ferran Torres. The club was supposed to be suffocated by debts and unable to register players, not snapping up one of Europe's brightest talents of a Champions League rival. That deal occurred thanks to some clever accounting from the returning president Joan Laporta and director of football Mathieu Alemany. Results did improve on the pitch, yet few predicted the Torres signing would be a pretext to their market activity this summer. As, along with a selection of smart free signings in Andreas Christensen and Franck Kessié, Barca are rolling the dice in a big way. Raphinha has been pinched from under the nose of Arsenal and Chelsea, arriving from Leeds for a massive €60 million. And now Robert Lewandowski has followed suit. The Polish goal machine has finally got his wish, leaving Bayern for Barca for around €45 million. And there could be more. Sevilla's Jules Koundé is a known target, along with the Chelsea pair of Cesar Azpilicueta and Marcos Alonso, and Manchester City's Bernardo Silva. There is also the signing of the talented teenage prospect Pablo Torre from Racing Santander, a deal that could end up costing €20 million. It has been suggested the club will end up splashing nearly €250 million in the market once all things are said and done. This naturally begs the question again, how on earth are Barca capable of spending so much money? In our latest Football Daily Explained, we're returning to Catalonia to find out. The signings might sound exciting, but rest assured the problems at Barcelona are very much the same. In fact, some of the reported figures are truly astounding. For a start, it has been revealed they still owe €126 million in pending transfer fees to 19 different clubs, with Liverpool the biggest creditor thanks to the €29 million they're still due for Felipe Coutinho. SC Braga are waiting for a decent chunk for Francisco Trincao, while Bordeaux still need another €10 million for the Brazilian winger Malcolm. How they could use that money right now. In short, Josip Bartomeu may no longer be president, but the repercussions of his lavish spending are still being firmly felt at the club. In the past 5 years, only Juventus have spent more than the Spanish giants on players, both topping over the €1 billion mark. Barcelona's accounts for 2021 proved to be extremely grim reading. According to the online economist Swiss Ramble, the Blaugrana posted an operation pre-tax loss of €555 million, 4 times greater than it was in 2020. This was the biggest loss ever reported by a football club, while interest payments on their gross debt have soared from €1 million to €41 million in the space of just 3 years. Once again, this is comfortably the highest in Europe, ahead of Atletico Madrid, Manchester United and Tottenham, the latter needing to pay off their brand new stadium. Joan Laporta has given a blunt assessment of the Blaugrana's current state, calling them practically dead in financial terms. Meanwhile, his vice president, Eduardo Romeo, went one step further, declaring that €500 million was needed to save the club. Registering players is proving to be a challenge as well. This is thanks to a salary cap imposed by La Liga's economic cost controls that regulates how much a club is allowed to spend on employees. It contrasts directly from FIFA's financial fair play, which takes retrospective action against a club by dictating how much a team can afford for the new campaign. Barcelona's cap has unsurprisingly taken a severe hit in recent times. Back in 2019-20, it was the biggest in Spain at €671 million, allowing them to accommodate their many stars. However, as the losses piled up, by winter last year it stood at negative €144 million, the only negative cap in the Spanish top tier. It meant the club could not afford to keep Lionel Messi and wreaked havoc on their transfer plans. Barcelona breached their negative salary cap by some distance, and La Liga rules meant they could therefore only use 25% of any savings made to bring in fresh players. As the division's president Javier Tebas explained, if Barcelona sell a player for €100 million, they can only spend €25 million. If they want to bring in a player who costs them €25 million in salary, they must earn €100 million, either by transfer or salary reduction. The other 75% would then be used to reduce existing liabilities. To get around La Liga's 1-4 rule last January, players like Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang took heavily deferred wages, while long-standing members of the squad like Gerard Piqué, Sergio Busquets and Jordi Alba all took pay cuts. It worked that time, but it's not a trick that can be repeated on a regular basis. This summer, Barca will have to be creative again if they want to see any of their new additions in domestic competition, as so far, La Liga have not yet allowed them to register the likes of Christensen, Kessié and Raphinha. However, the odds are beginning to shift ever so slightly back in Barca's favour. Their salary cap is no longer expected to be negative once it's updated this summer, and La Liga's punishment for breaching the cap are less stringent than before. To accommodate for losses incurred by the COVID pandemic, the 1-4 rule is now 1-3, so the club can now use 33% of savings made to boost player purchases. Selling players is an obvious way to raise quick capital and reduce the wage bill, and the Blaugrana have been quietly busy moving individuals on. Coutinho has joined Aston Villa permanently, Luke de Jong and Adama Traore are no longer around, while Trincao and Clement Longley have both left on loan. And then there's Ousmane Dembele, who finally extended his contract on reduced terms after a protracted standoff with the board. And although Joan Laporta has been insisting that Barcelona don't need to sell, refusing to entertain the image of the Catalan giants as a selling club, it's clear more names will need to leave to support their lavish spending. According to the Spanish outlet Sport, Barca boss Xavi is prepared to force players deemed surplus to requirements to leave. That includes the backup keeper Neto, the defenders Samuel Umtiti and Oscar Mingueza, Ricky Puig in midfield, plus Martin Braithwaite in attack. All five were left out of Barcelona's pre-season tour of the USA, meanwhile Memphis Depay could leave before the summer is out. How successfully they will be moved on remains to be seen, given their generous wage packages at the Camp Nou. Just take Umtiti, who reportedly failed a medical at the French outfit Rennes, casting him back to Catalonia. And then there is Frenkie de Jong. By the time this video goes live, he could be a Manchester United player after a broad agreement was reached between the two clubs over an €85 million fee. However, the Dutchman is still yet to be convinced about leaving Spain, while the small issue of €17 million owed to him in deferred wages has held up any progress. That said, his sale looks like a necessity if Barca are to register their new signings. The club do have other ways of raising funds, and a lot has changed behind the scenes. Last August, a deal was struck with Goldman Sachs that meant the immediate threat of insolvency has subsided. Barcelona were in such a state that €596 million in short-term debt had to be repaid within 12 months. However, this has been restructured thanks to a new 10-year loan worth €595 million. According to Laporta, the deal would buy them air for the next 18 months. Nearly a year has passed and Barcelona have been busy working out ways to stay competitive. One of their biggest steps was the major sponsorship deal they've agreed with the music streaming service Spotify. Set to be one of the biggest ever commercial partnerships in sporting history, Spotify has become the official shirt sponsor of the men's and women's team, while for the first time ever, the Camp Nou has sold its naming rights to become the Spotify Camp Nou. It might sound odd, and it is, but it will stay this way until 2026, earning the club a reported €70 million per season. The next step has been the club's decision to sell their TV rights. At the end of June, it was revealed that they'd sold 10% of their La Liga TV rights for the next 25 years to the US equity firm 6th Street Partners. This injected €207.5 million into the club accounts, helping them end the financial year in profit and move back towards a positive salary cap. And more money should be on the horizon. At an extraordinary general meeting on June the 16th, Barcelona's members agreed to eventually sell up to 25% of their La Liga TV rights, while also selling a 49.9% stake in the Barca licensing and merchandising arm of the club. It is hoped that these actions together will raise a massive €600 million, which will help fuel their future signings. In the words of Laporta, we are activating economic levels and executing on our patient, sustainable and efficient strategy to strengthen the club's financial footing. There are also signs that the worst is behind for Barcelona for now. Swiss Ramble discovered that the €555 million loss they made in 2021 is slightly misleading, as it included several singular one-off payments that will not be repeated, and factored in a €92 million net impact for COVID. All things considered, Barca's underlying loss was only €193 million, still absolutely horrific, but more manageable than before. Plus their pre-season tour and renewed commercial deals, and there is a glimmer of light at the end of the very long dark tunnel for Barcelona. Laporta is clearly gambling on immediate success, putting Barcelona back on the path to €1 billion in revenue, something they became the first club to achieve in 2018. You don't sign aging stars like Lewandowski without that intention in mind. But there is still a hell of a lot of work that needs to be done, and their debt will not disappear overnight. It is imperative they spend their money more wisely than before, and let's hope we're not revisiting the subject for a third time down the line. So that's our explained on how on earth Barcelona are affording to spend so big this summer. What do you make of this video? Let us know in the comments down below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time.